and welcome to the Lyman Lipke Guitarcast. I am your humble host, Lyman Lipke. But I don't have a guitar in my hands. I will in a second, because what you're about to see is an interview that I got to conduct with Sam Krones. You may know her from this video that started popping off a month or two ago. Her band Stereosity just released a new song called Sprout. So give that a listen, and all of her info will be in the description. And let's get right into the show. All right, welcome. I have got a new friend with me today. I've got Sam Krones of the band Stereosity.
Yes.
And, thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
You've been popping off on Instagram lately.
Yeah, a little bit.
With the two-handed tapping stuff on the guitar.
Yes. Yeah, that's it's definitely been a weird experience. People actually want to hear that, like you post something, you're just like, it was one of those things that you post it in your room at night and you're just like, it's kind of cool, and then people are just like, what the f-? And I'm just like it is what it is.
So I definitely want to get into that, but before we get into that, I want to start at the beginning. What got you into music in the first place?
Ugh. I say anime.
Oh, that's
how it work.
Totally valid.
It was it's just a bunch of different ones, and seeing musicians glorified in that sense, or having that the rock star thing going on. I don't know, where you're just anime is being super emotional and everything. I'm just I want to do that. I want to play acoustic guitar. That's so cool.
What animes specifically?
I think the first one for me, I remember when I was really little, I watched Angel Beats. That was and there was this one character, I even forgot her name at this point because it's been so long since I've seen it, but it was just one of those stories where I was just that's so cool. And then I asked my parents for an acoustic guitar for Christmas because I wanted to be like that.
I mean, anime music had a very profound effect on me.
Oh yeah.
When I was coming up, I'm a child of the 90s, so.
Oh yeah.
And a child of the Napster era, so it was
right.
Just downloading everything I could get my hands on.
That's and so cool.
The first two openings for Dragon Ball Z, there were only two openings for Dragon Ball Z, yeah. But the original Japanese ones, I listened to those all the time, and that probably seeped into my musical memory.
Brain. Yeah.
it probably there. Comes out in ways that are unexpected.
Yeah, it's funny because it's kind of come full circle, at least for us in our music, because it's been so it started obviously with what I just told you, but then we kind of branched off into different styles, a lot of Radiohead kind of and then a little bit more progressive stuff later on, but then it's kind of come full circle. We're all at least me and my bandmates, we're all super into J-rock now. J-rock, and then jazz fusion and all of that stuff. But I think it's really cool. Just I'll go on YouTube sometimes and I'll just break down or try to break down different anime openings, just because that the structure or how they're written is so unique in the fact that it is, it's J-rock, and you can tell because they use distinct chord progressions very commonly, but at the same time there can be different styles of J-rock in that same manner, and I think that's really cool. And so we try to kind of incorporate some of those chord progressions in some of our stuff sometimes.
I love the J-rock and J-pop progression. Mm-hmm. I forget what it's called, but it roughly translates to the easy way or something like that.
Yeah,
I've heard
they use a lot of 2/5s in a lot of anime openings. Yeah.
I love that chord. The
It's so nice.
5/4.
Yeah.
And I'd probably be remiss if I didn't ask this. And it always seems like a weird question to me when I get asked this question. But
No, you're good. Go for it.
how long have you been playing?
Actually, somebody asked me this last night. What I told them was like maybe 7 or 8 years, I would have to say. But I only really started getting serious in it when we started the band, because before it was like I would play just like strum along to like acoustic songs or whatever. Like I think I did I learned like a local native song when I was first starting. And that kind of got me into like playing and singing at the same time, and I was super into that. But then I when the band was started, it was like, man, I don't know, it had to have been like 2018, I think.
Oh wow, so you've been together for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all been together since like middle school almost. It's when it was like formed.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's a little trippy, yeah. It's kind of cool though, because then it's just like this group of friends that I know them so well, you know, like they are practically brothers to me. One of them's my boyfriend, which is funny that I say that, but the other two are literally brothers. So then it's just like a big family, essentially.
Uh, I had to.
I know. I said it. I mean, I gave you the opportunity to, you know.
That's a very special thing. Like,
Yeah.
The band I'm currently in, or one of the bands I'm currently in, Wild Giants, is the leader. It's his first band, and I've been a part of Wild Giants for almost 5 years at this point. That's the longest time like I've ever been involved with a band. It's
You tend to get to learn a lot more about these people the longer that you're with them, you know.
I mean, like, my experience in music has been a lot of like, putting a band together for one show and then going your separate ways, or
Right.
being absorbed into another band, like doing a lot of sub work. I was recently reminded of a story about like just dealing with there's all types in music. There was this band who was playing at a battle of the bands, and we were acquainted with them, and they lost their round, and they were really bummed. And our band like just booked a show and said, "Hey, we'll let you have an opening slot on this show, and we'll give you $100." Since we booked the show and it was like our thing, we were making more than $100, but that's usually how it goes.
Right.
Somebody's taking a bigger cut.
Right.
Drummer from the other band found out and like flipped his lid like after the show, like just yelled at us, threatened us. And I had played with this guy before. It's weird, like dealing with other musicians, because sometimes you see somebody on their worst day, and that impression sticks with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's definitely something, and yeah, it's just learning to deal with that and learning to understand like the ups and downs that people are gonna have, because like everybody to some extent I feel like is gonna have those down moments. It really depends on what it could be. They're upset like in a situation what you're talking about, or it could be because they're just upset about their own playing or like how it's going, and then you just have to be like, it's gonna happen, especially at like live shows and everything. Like when we play live, we're so obsessed with being the best that we can be. And so even like a simple mistake would have somebody thinking about it for the rest of the night, and then they'd be like talking about it and they get really really down, and I'm just like, dude, you're gonna have nights like that, You know, it's gonna happen. Like, that's just part of being a musician, is just learning to deal with that and learning how to improve off of the mistakes that you already make, I feel like.
Absolutely. That is such a wise sentiment.
Yeah.
Like, almost, that's almost, in my opinion, more important than learning, like, how to not make mistakes, is learning how
Yeah. Oh
to
yeah. Because in the
recover.
end you're human, you know? It's like that's part of being a musician. It's not being a perfect musician. It's
Hmm.
being okay with the fact that you're not perfect.
I remember an Oscar Peterson interview, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Oscar
Yeah.
Peterson.
Yeah.
Right on. You're hip.
Yeah. I'm hip enough.
He Somebody asked him, how often do you make a mistake? And he said, every single show you make a mistake.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I've ever heard one,
Exactly.
but it's like the goalpost moves. As you get better and better, what constitutes a mistake changes.
Yes, that's definitely something that I've noticed a lot more recently because, again, this group of people that I'm in this band with, they're I've been in this band for like since middle school, but we're all in college now, and we're going to like a community college, and we're just taking like music classes. But it it took like for a while I was just like, yeah, I'm, you know, pretty good at this, pretty good at that, but it just takes somebody like a professor, and one of my professors is really good at this. She literally just like straight up like walked up to me and she was just like, you need to get better at rhythm. And I'm just like, I do. And I'm just like, ah, dang, I thought it was pretty good. And then I go home, and now that because she said that, and I'm listening to myself back, I'm just like, no, she's right. Like I am hearing more mistakes now that somebody pointed it out, and sometimes you need that just to be able to be like, I can do better at this. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's just like sometimes the whole idea of improving as a musician or becoming a better musician is just, you know, hearing more of your mistakes and being able to like improve on them. Because I guess the best musician in the world, even if they're not good at what they do, they at least know they're not good at some specific thing, and so they can improve on it, right?
Hmm. And being able to accurately analyze yourself and your playing is a huge skill and a difficult skill to learn.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Oh, like everybody is.
Right.
But I imagine a mistake to Oscar Peterson is playing something he didn't intend to play.
Yeah.
Which, you know, things that he doesn't intend to play are still greater than we could ever hope to reach, I feel like. But
Yeah. And there's I feel like there's like a lot of improv involved in literally anything that is in that genre. So it's like, is it really a mistake? You know, it depends on who you're talking to.
yeah, the it's all fluid. Like there are no hard and fast like rules in
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
It's all and anytime I like make a sweeping generalization, it's for comedic effect because the answer is always it depends.
Yeah. And that's
So
I think that's the scariest thing about the music industry to me, is that like it's scary, but it's also kind of cool because music is so subjective. It's like everybody's gonna do it differently, but there are gonna be some people like telling you how it's supposed to be done, and in the end, it's like it's really just up to you, you know? Like it's so subjective.
mhm. um, again making a sweeping generalization, I think the only way really to do it is you know the way that uh, you can like live with yourself at the end of the day, like
Yeah.
what is in truly in your soul. If you're doing something besides that, there's going to be a lot more resistance, I feel like.
For sure.
So one of my catchphrases, how I end a lot of my videos, is practice with a real angry face. So I like to ask people about their practice habits. Like what, how did you get to where you are, and what are you practicing currently?
Hmm. So it's tricky because I have a few different answers. Um, so because I deal a lot with like open tunings, um, it's not something that I like use as like a practice routine. It's something that I kind of use as like I don't know what's the word. It's just like an outlet, I guess. So
Mhm.
like playing an open tuning is kind of the outlet, and then I'll when I want to, I'll switch back to standard tuning and just like run scales or run like arpeggios and stuff like that, and actually make sure I'm getting my foundation right so I can play the instrument if somebody asks me to play the instrument. But in the end, it's like yeah, normally it's like if I want to practice in an open tuning, maybe I'll learn a new song that I like because I found that that's one of the easiest ways for somebody to get better at something a lot faster. Is like starting out with something that's really, really, really difficult, and then trying to break it down slowly, and then kind of figure it out. And it's like one of the first like tapping songs that I learned was like Shibuya by Covet. This is like the same one that everybody learns, but it's such a good riff, and it's just because like it teaches you the foundation of kind of learning how to tap with both of your hands, but still not make it feel like too much. You know what I mean? Like there's still some rhythmic basis there. But you can still add some of these notes on top and make it like full. And I think that's really cool. Like she's playing a melody and a rhythm at the same time. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's like a lot of it for me is learning songs that I really enjoy because it kind of pushes the genre that I play more and the style of music that I want to make because obviously to some extent there's like if you're learning a song you like that genre you want to play that genre so why not incorporate those into your own playing
Mhm.
but in terms of practice routine I mean if we're talking like standard tuning because I have a few different guitars one of them I just keep in standard and then the other two I keep in like open like drop C sharp major and then the other one in like F A C G C D not E because I'm unique or whatever but
Let's live there for a
yeah
little
yeah
while.
yeah
Like
sorry I'm
the open
spewing so
tuning
much
thing.
information
Um, I don't really play in any open tunings anymore because I am scared because I've put
yeah
so much time into standard tuning.
yes yeah
And as
that's
soon as I change the tuning, I have lost my entire frame of reference.
exactly it's that's the trickiest part about it I feel like and that's the fear that I always live with when I'm like because I'll be like I'm going to school in the next month again and I'm gonna have to tune down to standard and I'm never gonna be playing in open tunings because I can't have enough time to practice in both because it's
Mhm.
kind of like learning an entirely new world. I mean, in one case you could have like octaves literally on the same fret just like a string above it and that's kind of cool but then it's like you don't have that in standard and so all of the patterns are different and you could find new patterns but it just takes time it's like learning another language.
Yeah, and like if you were reading music, how would you notate an open tuning? Would certain strings be transposing? Like that's
I don't know. I have no idea. I've I don't know. I've really only like tabbed out two of the riffs that I have, but that's tab, you know, and it's like I literally just changed the string tuning in the program that I use, so I'm literally just showing them all of the notes that I'm hitting. So
and what program do you use?
use score.
MuseScore. Okay,
Yes.
right on.
Yeah.
Uh, I've used MuseScore for a long time for like chart making and like actual notation, but
Yeah, they're good for that. It's a little tricky in the tablature side of things. I don't know if there's an easier program, but that's just the one that I was like showed how to use, and so I was like, okay. I mean, it works. It gets the job done, and I can input the tunings there. So,
I'm a Guitar Pro user.
oh yeah,
Guitar Pro is a great program for
mm.
tab, and I need to reach out to them, get like an affiliate link.
Yeah.
But Power Tab Editor, I don't know if they have something for Mac. Is like
Mm.
Guitar Pro Lite, but 100% free.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you're, I always say the best piece of software is the software you know how to use. But if
Yeah, yeah, it's
you're
true.
in the market for something else,
All right.
Check out
Noted.
Power Tab. I've got a guitar here tuned to B flat standard. So any like alternate tuning is some variation of standard.
Yes.
But the third fret on the low string, I still call that a G.
Yes. Yeah. I know. Habit.
And I go to like the saxophone as a reference for that. Like if a saxophone player puts down their fingers on the tenor and blows a note that's C, and then puts down their tenor, picks up the alto, blows the same fingering, that note is still C. However, on the tenor, it's going to sound like a B flat, and on the alto, it's going to sound like an E flat.
Yeah.
They're transposing instruments, so that's how I'm treating like alternate or like drop tunings. Like
That's an interesting way of thinking about it, but I guess that does make sense though when you put it in the manner of like alter and tenor.
yeah, I'm not sure if that's correct, but it's how I'm doing it with one of my students.
Right. There's no correct way of doing it, as we just spoke about.
Yeah. So how many different open tunings do you play in?
I've played in a few, but I think the ones that really like stuck out to me were just the two that I've written like songs in, just because they're the easiest and they're the most like fluid for my writing style. It's like first one was FACGCD, which is the one that I was talking about earlier. We just wrote a song in that one. It'll be on our album. But then the other one that I've been using a lot more recently is just it's open C sharp, strop open C sharp, but it's like C sharp, G sharp, C sharp, then F, and then G sharp, C sharp, or E sharp if you wanted to call it that.
Yeah. And what I'm interested. What string gauge do you use for like a tuning that low? Because it's like a minor third down on the low string.
Normally, I use tens, which feels pretty light when you're talking about a tuning that's that low. But you think that's light? You should see like the double neck guitar I got when it was given to me. It had eighths on it, and it was tuned to like open E major because it's essentially the same thing, just transposed. But it was funny because I was like texting like Felix Martin, and I was just like, hey, how do I am I able to put thicker strings on this? And he's just like, well, I normally use eighths, and I'm like kind of understanding why he normally uses eighths because it's easier to tap on it. But then I'm like tuning it down to C sharp with a new pair of strings, and I'm just like, whew. It's way different. Maybe I should go thicker on the lower tunings.
String gauge is something like I've done a lot of it experimenting with. Just because I'm neurotic about how everything feels like, when it's under my hands.
Oh yeah.
Like this is it's a set of 12s, essentially.
Really, you play 12s?
I promise I'm not trying to flex. I put 12s on like my bendy guitars. But on like my jazz boxes and like things that I play more specifically for jazz, like my 7-string semi, that's a 15 to 56 on the regular 6 strings, and then an 80 as the bass string.
Oh my gosh.
That probably comes from my time coming up as a bass player, like
that would make sense.
Dealing with really thick strings, and it kind of sucks in the left hand, but the thing that I really like is the resistance I get with the pick.
I mean, I can hear that as you're like playing. I'm just like, it looks so like fluid.
Yeah, like the string doesn't want to move all that much. The pick just like slides through it. And I find I can play quieter with thick strings. And you can beat the ever-loving crap out of thick strings as well. But
Yeah, we'll just go. That's cool.
I've done experimenting with the wound G, plain G, increasing the gauge on the B and E. For a while, I was playing a 12, 16, 20 plain or 22 wound, 32, 42, 52, but putting a 13 and a 17 on the B and E. Because a lot of times, I just find the E string, sounds a little bit weaker than everything else.
Yeah.
So giving it a little bit more mass, balances it out. For me and what I do.
Breaks the most often when it's so thin.
Yes. I hardly ever break strings anymore. The only time I break strings is when I'm doing stupid stuff like taking the neck off and putting it back on.
Oh, right. Yeah, I've had a dumb luck with my strings lately. It was funny because it's all tuning. Obviously, it's tuning between these open tunings, but when I wanted to keep some of my guitars where they were, and I'm just using this one guitar with my Fishman Fluence pickup because I want to use the Fishman Fluence pickups, but I'm tuning down and I'm tuning up and I'm tuning down and I'm tuning up. Literally the second or third time I tune back down, that's when the high E pops. You think it's when you're tuning up, but it's always when I'm tuning down. It's weird.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting.
Unlucky.
So, to circle back around, what about your standard tuning practice? Your just general guitar practice?
So normally, also I don't really have a routine for it. I know a lot of the time I just sit down and I like to run a warm up or something, which is just making sure I'm hitting all frets and then maybe changing the fingering, and then just going up and down the neck. Making sure I'm actually plucking the string and plucking it at a solid velocity each time, so I'm getting the same volume for each hit. Then maybe I'll just run my diatonic scales all the way up and down, try and go between them a few times. Major 7 arpeggios, minor 7. I've not really gotten into diminished or very many dominant shapes, but I have 2 of them down so far, and so I just run those. And
how do you run those?
What do you mean? Just
do you run them in position, or do you run them in different parts of the neck?
So kind of both. I start by running it in position, but then if I know more patterns, for example the diatonic ones or the major 7 arpeggios, I'll just go in between the shapes, kind of up and down the neck, just to it's because it's combining them that makes it the most valuable. Because if you're stuck into one pattern or one shape, it gets pretty tricky, but if you can move between them, which I'm still working on and I'm not the best at, but it does help for improv and all that.
And what do you have a system you use for scales, like 3-note per string or caged or something of that variety?
Caged.
Yeah.
It was funny because I didn't actually ever learn what the caged system was until a year ago, half a year ago maybe. It was because I'd known all these patterns, but it didn't click to me that what caged meant, because people have thrown that word around in the beginning, and it had taken me years to actually understand the connection between them. These shapes actually make up this open chord.
Yeah. I mean, it took me damn near 20 years to finally figure it out.
I mean, it's tricky.
and I'm I must be part dyslexic, and the change between 2 notes happening on a string and three notes happening on a string just really confused me.
Oh
Like,
yeah. I mean, it's really easy to get thrown off at that point because then it just makes the patterns that much harder.
I finally figured out like how the chords like correspond to the shapes. Like while I was recording one of these podcasts, it was kind of a
You're like, oh man, it's been right under my nose this whole time.
because that cage has been around forever, and people have been preaching it on the internet since
Yeah,
the dawn of the internet.
right.
But,
It's like the first thing that my guitar teacher threw at me years ago. It was just like, here's the cage system. But then I never understood it, and for some reason I never asked about it, and so I just learned the shapes and was just like, okay, here we are.
Jimmy Bruno, one of my favorite guitar players, calls it the five fingerings.
Yeah, that's an easy way to go about it. I mean, it's true.
And that was the first thing that made it make somewhat sense to me. But I'm a three note per string player.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Mainly because same number of things happens on every string.
Yeah.
I use a lot of economy picking, so it's just down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, and then up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Doesn't matter what shape I'm in. Like,
Right.
same number of things are happening, so it's less
Right.
variables for me to think about. But in the caged, in any system, really, like. That's one of my favorite exercises, and it's just diatonic seventh arpeggios, and then go down the scale. Or for my fellow caveman brain guitar players, I call it skip every other note till you have four notes, and then go down the scale.
That works.
And that's a great little exercise just to get the seventh chord shapes like under your fingers, which I as a jazz guy I'm using all the time.
Right. Yeah, I should definitely pick up on that. That seems helpful.
Yeah, it's relatively simple in theory. Like the whole thing is like the physicality of
Right.
putting it under your fingers, but yeah, like not that I always jump into teacher mode.
Hey, that's okay. I respect that.
And that's not so much for you as it is for everybody watching this. Like,
Right.
do your scale positions, do your arpeggios, and this is a simple way to get it under your fingers. So that being said, let's shift a little bit and talk about gear.
Yes.
What inspires you gear wise? And what are you playing on right now, of course?
So I love well, everything that I have is like I feel like it complements like my playing style pretty well. I wanted an Ibanez for a while. I actually got their Quest series, like the little headless 4-pound like this thing's crazy. I got the blue one with like the 8-degree slanted frets, but it's like it's so nice. It's definitely very prog, so it's one of those like shreddier guitars. If you ever want to do like wide reaches, like it works. Just because all the frets are smashed together because it's so small. But that one's pretty good for all like the shreddier stuff, and it has like really slim neck. It's really easy to play on. But my other two, I've just got a Jazzmaster from the Mod Shop from Fender. That one's like my Tone Master. I love it so much. It's the one that I pull out for like recording sessions, and every time I'm trying to get like just the right amount of like drive, it's amazing for drive tones or overdriven, like slightly overdriven, and some clean tones too. But then my last one is my it's a Charvel. It's one of their San Dimas models. I don't really know where it came from. I actually bought it off of my guitar teacher when I first started playing, around when I first started playing. Um, but that thing's like, it's like my main instrument just because it's the one that I kind of grow up learning, but it's like the one that I learned on. And
Mhm.
so it just feels like home to play on the neck that I have. And I mean, it's smooth. It works for shreddier stuff. It's not like super chunky. It's not super thin. It's like the perfect in between. So I just threw in some of the Fishman Fluence, like Toes and Abasi pickups in there recently. Um, Put it on an active circuit, and that thing sounds amazing. It sounds amazing and it feels amazing. I couldn't ask for a better guitar, you know?
Yeah, the guitar that feels the best in your hands is that's most of the battle.
Yes,
Especially
yeah,
with electric guitars. Like if you can get
yeah.
something that feels good in your hands,
There's so many different shapes.
yeah. And I don't know if like you want to give a hot take or not, but where do you stand on the tone wood debate?
Hmm. I actually don't normally stand on the Tonewood debate.
Fair enough.
I don't really. I've never really gotten into like the differences between them. As a matter of fact, I don't even know what some of mine are. But what's your
I mean, everybody
favorite?
knows that listens to this podcast has a general idea of where I stand, but like I'm fine repeating it. Like
Right.
I think if there is a difference in the sound with the wood, it is negligible. It can be picked up via analyzers, but if it can be picked up by the human ear, that's debatable. And
Right.
if it can be picked up in a mix, that is
Yeah,
also
that's
very
yeah.
debatable.
I'm one of those people who's always not really put that much thought into like the tone wood itself, just because I feel like a lot of what comes from the guitar is in the pickups. And granted, the tone wood has something to do with it, but I don't like what you're saying in a full mix. Like you're probably not gonna hear or be able to pick out what kind of wood that guitarist is using. You know,
Mhm.
like
On electric guitars,
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah,
acoustic
yeah.
guitars, like
Acoustic,
the
yeah,
wood is the amplifier,
exactly,
so
yeah,
that it has a great deal to do
yeah.
with the sound. But I have no idea what this wood is. It's very very light. This guitar is a glary. It started its life as a glary. Are you familiar with glary?
No, I'm not.
Good.
Interesting.
It like the guitar this started as. You can get it on Amazon, shipped to your door for $80,
Oh.
and that might be an overpay.
Mm.
So not good quality instruments.
Okay.
Extra wide neck pocket, so like putting like I swapped the neck to the neck that came off of this Lion Stratocaster, and then there's very wide gaps, so I had to shim
Huh.
everything. And the pickups were not good. The bridge was off center. Like there was just a
Ah.
lot of stuff to do to this guitar, but
Mm-hmm.
I like screwing around with stuff, and I bought it off Craigslist for like $50, knowing it was just gonna be a body.
Right. I mean, it's just one of the ones that you get to be able to take it apart and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, like my my wife just before recording, she said your guitar fell because I tripped on it. I'm like, oh, cool.
That's all right.
And this one,
Oh my gosh. It's all right. I
like,
paid $80 for it.
yeah, I don't care. Like, it was on my bench last night, so like I have no problem putting it back on my
Yeah.
workbench today.
Yeah. There you go.
Um, what about your sound? Like, how do you and did you find your sound, and what led you to where you are with your sound and tone these days?
Um, Probably I don't know. Tone has always been interesting for me because when I first started, obviously I was just like humbuckers, always humbuckers. Humbuckers sound so good. And then wait, where did that come from? Balloons. But yeah, I literally, I think my first electric guitar was it was an Epiphone Les Paul. So it had the humbuckers, but it was very dad rock, and you could tell. Um, it was kind of cheap, but I learned how much I didn't like it after a while, like just because like the Les Paul was like so heavy. I mean, I was like, I must like not that big of a person, so carrying this like 10 or 11 pound guitar everywhere that I go is just like maybe not. This thing's gonna weigh me down. But so I got rid of that one right around the time that I got my Charbel that I've been talking about. And that's when I kind of really started to notice how much tone makes a difference in playing, because it can literally like influence you, like, and yeah, that's why they call it fluence. But no, it's funny because when you have a good tone on anything that you play, like it will literally make you want to play more. And I think that's really really cool. Because those pickups that were in it, they were Seymour Duncans. I don't remember exactly what they were, but I just remember those were the first pickups that I had that sounded really good, and they were very dynamic too. They were perfect for like those warmer, like jazzier sort of tones when you dialed back the tone knob a little bit. But they were also kind of bright, and they had that twang, and it had like a coil tap and everything, and so you could really get that sparkly like feel out of those pickups. I thought it was really cool. Then I got around to amps at some point. That's when I went to like a Guitar Center, and I got a Vox AC30 S1, and it was one of the like it was one of the last ones they had that was like this off-white color. I thought it was really cool. I mean, I still have it today, even though it's got like tube issues, and I'm trying to figure out why it keeps buzzing. But that's an AC30 for you. But yeah, that thing is probably the definition of what like shaped kind of my tone. Like being able to lock into an AC30 and just play whenever you wanted is kind of crazy. um, but that, and then a bunch of like pedals that I have as well. So
Right on.
yeah.
AC30, like
Yes.
that's the sim that I'm.
Running. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so good. They're so nice.
I've never played through a real AC30.
Really.
But I like the sim a lot, so I imagine I'd like the real thing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're like super super sparkly. They really cut through a mix if you need them to, but if you don't, it's like they sit really well. I love it.
How heavy is that thing?
Surprisingly not as heavy as my bandmate's Fender Twin.
He plays through a twin.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, those are big amps.
Yeah. Well, it's a twin reverb, so he's got the 70 pounds maybe on his side, and I'm maybe 60 pounds on mine. So you can imagine like going to every show, we're like lifting those things into the car.
Do they have wheels at least?
Have not gotten to that yet.
Oh.
Yeah, I pulled my back one time trying to lift that into a cart, as you can imagine. But then one day I was just like, we should really get like wheels on the bottom of these, because they have screws. You can literally just screw them in. And then I don't remember who told me, no, don't do that. It's going to make it a hassle to put it in the car. I was just like, but it would make it so much easier to get anywhere.
I moved around a 4x10 bass cad for a long time, but it had wheels on it.
Yeah.
And
See, it makes it so much easier.
oh yeah, my pops played in a band in Seattle for many years, and he imparted like one piece of wisdom onto me that I have like held true for my entire life. Like, pack light.
Yes.
I mean, he's a big guy, strong guy, so like he just had his guitar and a Fender Deluxe, but like he could, uh, carry that relatively easily. But I've gone completely like ampless at this point. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just running through like not even like a quad Cortex or a Helix, a Vailton GP200.
Huh.
Um,
Never heard of that one before.
it's pretty good, like for the price, especially like $280. Like,
Yeah. That's bad. It's not too bad.
um, and it fits into my guitar case, so like
Oh, that's even better.
walking to any gig, I have two free hands. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
my guitar is just on my back. Like, be
So cool.
holding a drink and holding a smoke in the other.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I need to be able to lighten my load a bit. I've got like every show that we go to, I bring two guitars because obviously the open tunings, I don't want to switch on stage, and so I'm like one on each shoulder, and then I've got my pedal board, which is heavy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like I've been searching for my sound via amplification for a while at this point. Like, I was weird in the sense that like coming up, like I did most of my stuff digitally, like very in the box tones, like just
Yeah.
trying to build tones in the box, and then I started getting into acquiring amplifiers, and now I'm back to digital again.
Yeah.
But it's just so easy on the back and the arms.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can imagine. I've recently gotten into a lot of like neural DSP tones just because they've got like an arsenal of tones that you can use, literally whatever you need, they've got it. But I mean, that's what powers literally all of my riffs. I think on whenever I post anything, I just go DI into like archetype Pliny, and then I just like output it through that. With the Fishman Fluence pickups and then that plugin, it's one of the best sounds I've ever had, especially for something that you don't have to carry a 70-pound amp along with. It's huge.
And I mean, neural DSP, they make the quad Cortex, which is
Yeah.
an incredible piece of equipment.
I don't really know much about it. I was asking somebody about it like at a show the other day, just because I've never like looked into the quad cortex. I've never seen anything on it. I mean, I know that it exists, and I know that people like have raved about it, but I don't know what it is, really.
Both the other guitar player in my band and the drummer own a quad Cortex.
The drummer?
The drummer is actually like an incredible guitar player as well.
Okay.
But he, plays drums in Wild Giants. But he, like, I've messed around with his quad Cortex, and it's, like neural DSP powered, and
Right.
You can't go wrong. Like,
Yeah. So does it just have like a bunch of different like pedals, or
it's got
like
a bunch of different amp simulators, a bunch of different cabinet simulators, so IRs.
Oh.
And then, it's got all the drives and modulation effects, and
Okay.
so it's like, everything in one. It's all your effects and
sick.
your amp.
I can see why it's so expensive.
Yeah. I call the Vailton GP200 the Quad Cortex's underachieving cousin.
That works.
Because it has like the amp sims and the pedals inside as well. but like I can only choose one of every type of effect. Like
Yeah, okay.
I could stack like 4 or 5 reverbs on the quad cortex probably,
Wow.
which I mean I love reverb, so
Yeah. Maybe you
yeah.
said 6 reverbs.
I I I definitely recommend like playing with a quad cortex if you get the opportunity.
Mm.
Like just check it out, and like modelers are getting better and better like
Oh yeah.
every day. Like the Tonex is great, and there's the new Tonex One pedal, which is I think it's a mini pedal footprint, uh, and I think it's less than $200, but it's got amp and cab simulations. You can capture um, amps, and I think it's got reverb on
The
it.
capturing the amp thing is really cool.
Yeah, I have no idea how
Suck the
that.
soul out of any amp that you that you play through.
It's basically magic to me.
That's crazy.
Um, so uh, we've been going a while.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit more about your band. And do you have anything like coming up?
Yes. Yeah. We actually just recently we're gonna push out a single probably in the next week or so. It's gonna go through a label, but um, it's one that we wrote inside of a week, so it's definitely a first experience for us. But it was that riff that I posted that like got all the attention on TikTok and on Instagram and everything.
Oh,
So
real
like,
quick,
yeah,
like before jumping back to the band, let's talk about
yeah,
that, like going viral.
yeah.
How has that
Yeah.
experience been?
Kind of weird. I mean, it's like it can happen to anybody. I think it's just weird that it was on the one riff that I put like 4 seconds into, maybe. Like I did, I don't know what, 6 takes of that one night, and I picked the best one, and I was just like, this works. And then I posted it, and it was the one that like everybody loved, and I was just like, that's kind of cool. I mean, I think it just shows that like you just gotta post a lot more of like anything, because you never know what is the like winner. Sometimes I get too tunnel visioned onto my own style, and I'm just like, I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm not gonna use that. I'm not gonna post that. But like, I mean, if I wrote it and to some extent I like it, why not? It just because it's not my best one, why not just post it anyways? Somebody might like it.
I mean, my last few performance clips that I've posted, like I think the playing is absolute like just garbage compared to like my own standards for myself. But
Right.
I'm just trying to post lots,
Right.
so I just
Exactly.
shipped it,
Exactly.
and some people like it. Some people have called me out. My father, like, is it just me or are you kind of sloppy there?
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, yeah, pops.
No.
Yeah.
Leave it up to
and,
the parents for that one.
and he's probably gonna be listening to this. So, hi, Dad. Um, anybody cool follow you from your virality?
um, a lot of people. I mean, a lot of them I didn't like really know. A few people I was just like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, let me think about that for a second. Actually, I'm gonna go through because I might have forgotten. It's been like a few weeks. Oh yeah, there was this one guy. You've probably seen him on TikTok and on Instagram. His name is Flawed Mangoes.
I'm
Like,
not sure I'm familiar.
so he posts these like, he's actually pretty cool. He posts these reels of him just playing through his songs, but he does this thing that's really cool. It's like kill switch. He plays with his kill switch on his guitar a lot, but it creates these really like when he's drenched it in reverb or delay or something. It creates these really emotional, very ambient sounds that you can get out of a guitar that I didn't even know you could get out of a guitar. I've been following him for maybe like a month or two, and then one day I saw that he like hit me back, and I was just like, wait, that's really cool. Or even trippier, there was this one guy that I listened to in probably like 2019 or 2020 when I was like kind of getting started, but his name is Bryce Bishop. I had listened to him like in high school when I was like going through it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Mhm.
everybody gets through that high school time at some point, but his music was like one of the main things that I had listened to. And one day he commented on that post, and I was just like, wait, is this the same? Because I had like a full fledged like what like WTF moment. I literally like went through his account. And I was just like, his name sounds familiar. Why does his name sound familiar? And then I went through my Spotify and I found a song, and I was just like, I listened to that maybe like 20 million times. Like, but I thought that was pretty cool.
The craziest one for me was uh, somebody that nobody's like really heard of, which
Mm.
is just a travesty. But a man by the name of Denson Angulo. Um, at the time when I discovered him, like it was 2006, 2007.
Mm.
YouTube was in its infancy, and there
Okay.
there were no like upright bass tutorials except for like two or three guys, and he was one of them. Like and
Huh.
his like three or four videos were like my daily bread.
I
Like
think
that
that's really cool.
taught me how to like navigate the upright bass a little better because like I when I picked it up for my high school jazz band, I didn't know anything. Um,
Yeah.
and so he was known as Bassius back then, and then many years later he became Doctor Bassius because he got his doctorate.
That's cool.
But he saw one of my videos on TikTok, and he followed me, and I had been following him. He's like, "Love your stuff," and we like that just blew my mind because
Aw.
he sort of set me on my career path.
Oh man. Oh, that's
Like,
so wait, that's so awesome. It's
um,
always like those. It's like getting your inspirations to like notice you or like to see some of the stuff that you're doing and actually like enjoy it back. It's like kind of weird, but at the same time, it's like this very wholesome, like full feeling that you get from it. You know.
yeah, and we've gotten to know each other a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
we are. I had him on the show, or maybe he had me on his show. We're doing podcast stuff together,
Mm.
which is super cool, and like you can see like my starstruckness
Oh yeah.
in my eyes, like. But he's a very nice dude and a very very talented player. Um, but let's circle back. Your band
Yes.
Stereosity.
Yeah.
It's got you've got a single coming out.
Yes.
When is that? Because I'm not exactly sure when this podcast is gonna
Mm.
drop.
I'm not so sure, just because again, it's going through the label, and I don't know what their release plans are. It's our first time doing something like that, so it could be however long they take to push it out. But I assume it's not going to be very long because it's it's a song that everybody on TikTok wanted, and so they want to get it out as fast as possible for those people on TikTok. And my goal is to one day have that song be in an Elden Ring edit on TikTok. That's all I want. If that shows up, I think I've won.
um, yeah. So do you have any idea of a time frame, like mid August, late August?
I'm gonna my guess is as good as yours, honestly. Just
Okay.
because we're finishing the song like today, like it's getting completed today. Like I've done the mixing and done the mastering myself, and we're just adding a few touches here and there to make it sound a little bit better. But um, all in all, like the song is pretty much done. We're like signing a contract with them and then releasing it through them. So as soon as we hand it to them, they have the timeline all in there, on their side of things, how they're going to set it up, how they're going to release it. But I'm going to take a guess and say maybe like 2 weeks. Again, I could be totally wrong because I don't know what their timeline looks like, but I know they don't want it out too far from now.
Yeah. So it could be out this Friday if you're watching
That's
this.
possible. It's possible.
Because I think this one might go up in either next week or the week after. That's like inside baseball.
Cool. Yeah, because it's funny because we don't actually have a name for this song yet. Right now we're just calling it the TikTok song because that's where it came from, is like the TikTok riff. But there was this one funny comment that I found on it that we were considering. You know, like every Midwest emo or math rock like song has this crazy long name, or like the Toe album that has this crazy long name, something book about something. But somebody commented on this post and they said this song needs to have an unnecessarily long title about a very niche situation that occurred in a small town in Pennsylvania. And so I was just like, guys, how funny would it be if we just named the song an unnecessarily long title about a very niche situation that occurred in a small town in Pennsylvania? Dude, what's with those balloons? That's crazy.
I think it was like the air quotes.
That's really funny.
Nothing cool ever happens on my Zoom camera. I don't know if that's going to show up.
Maybe you need to give more peace signs. Give peace signs. Maybe we'll get balloons. Why did that happen? That's so weird. That's the second time that's happened.
I don't know if that's going to show up on OBS, but maybe.
We'll see. We'll see.
Viewers or listeners may not know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're going on about balloons.
That sucks for you. Like, 'cause it was cool when I saw it, and if you didn't get to see it, like, missing out.
There you go.
So I think that would be a great name, an unnecessarily long title.
Yeah.
One of like, I got into the two-handed tappy stuff like in 06, 07, and there were like a couple guys on the internet that were making videos with it, like Andy McKee and Justin King. Those were my guys, and one of Justin King's songs was called Untitled Project.
I love that.
It was a cool song. I learned it, and I have since forgotten it. But
yeah, I never know what to name songs. You know, it's like I've never had like a connection, like, because as somebody, when I was learning how to songwrite, some teacher told me, oh, just name it like a word in the chorus, like the main point of the chorus. But then I'm just like, if we're more of a progressive sound, so we only have one chorus, one verse, and then a bridge that's like twice the length of both, what do we name the song? Because I'm not naming it after the chorus. I mean, personally, I think that just feels a little cheesy, but I've never really had like a structure for naming songs, and it kind of shows in some of our newer stuff. Like our unreleased songs, the demo names that we have for them are Cocaine Bear and Don't Fart in a Spacesuit.
And I wrote a tune based on a title. Like the title informed the tune, and the title came from I was workshopping names for like my solo guitar record. I was doing it just to upset my wife. I think the ones I told her were When Life Gives You Lymans and In Lyman's Terms, and she just looked at me and said, Eat ass. And I'm like, what if I turned those into numbers? 3, 4, 7, 4, 5, 5, and then so that became
that's so funny.
I've
never written a song like that before.
First tune on my my solo record.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's just some numbers, but it really just means eat ass because I trying to annoy my wife.
That's really funny.
But yeah, like I don't really title things normally. I don't know. I call the song a collection of thoughts and experiences I had from some time ago because I ripped off the chord progression from a song called Memories
Oh,
So,
okay.
like, how can I make the word memories as long as possible?
Right. Yeah, that was the. It's funny now that we're getting into like these titles and everything. I had to look up the Toe album because I keep forgetting it. It's called "The Book About My Idle Plot on a Vague Anxiety." That's so deep, but also I don't know what it means.
Uh, I mean, like at this point, I just use Chat GPT. Like, give me a song title.
Yeah, create a very long Midwest emo song title for me.
Um,
It's great.
yeah, but so you've got a song coming out very soon.
Yes.
Might be out in a week. Might be out in a couple.
Yes,
Uh,
and for the band that never releases any music, this is probably a good thing, you know? It's a good thing to push us to get this out so fast, but
yeah.
it's cool.
Got anything else you'd like to promote? Where can the people find you?
We're on Spotify, literally anywhere you listen to music, Apple Music, iTunes, all of that fun stuff. You know, we're on everything. Or try to be. We're also on Bandcamp and SoundCloud and all that. But we're also on Instagram, TikTok. If you just want to look up socials, it's at Stereosity. It's like spelled stereo, SITY. Um, on Instagram, and then on TikTok, we're at stereosity.band, or is it at stereosityband, no dot? And then on Instagram, my personal is just sam.krones.
Cool, and I'll link those in the description.
Perfect.
And is there anything else you would like to say to the few people that listen to this show?
Um, no, thank you for listening. Thank you for taking an interest in, anything that I do. I think that's kind of cool.
Absolutely, check out Sam Krones. Like she is a phenomenal player, and I was fortunate enough to get her early, um, before
Thank you.
the like at the start of her blow up, and I feel like I'm pretty good at calling my shot. Like,
Okay,
I think
I'll take that.
you're gonna have a good career, and
Oh,
so
thank you.
thank you so much for being on the show and having a conversation with me.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks for having me.
and I hope we get to do it again sometime.
Yeah, very soon. We definitely will. Thank you.
Awesome. So until next time,
Sweet.
bye.
See if I can get the balloons again. No balloons. Okay, later. Thank you.